Welcome everyone to another session of our Global Employability Expert Series. My name is Mirta Aguirre and I'm the head of employability at Virtual Internships. Today's session is all about how do you utilize, Today's session is AI Essentials for Interns, Amplifying Productivity and Safeguarding Data Across Industries. And who is going to be our speaker for the day? And that's Gillian Lowe. Gillian is the Chief Strategy Officer of Virtual Internships. In her role, she leads in creating an accessible pathway to employment for post-secondary learners and has supported the facilitation of over 10,000 remote internships with more than 13,000 global host companies. She's committed to navigating the intersection of work and education, adapting to workforce changes, and leveraging technology's growing influence. Living the digital nomad life, she advocates for a hybrid work future, blending in-person collaboration with the opportunities remote work offers. And Gillian has a very interesting topic for our session. In this webinar will equip you with the key strategies for utilizing AI, like ChatGPT, to advance your remote work, while also addressing when AI usage may be disadvantageous. We'll cover AI's role in enhancing efficiency, along with necessary caution for data security and moments that require human judgment. You will learn to balance AI tools with critical thinking for a successful internship. Welcome, Gillian. Thanks for being here with us. You're
amazing. Well, yes. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you can all see my screen, and what I can do is get started. I do want to let you know that AI is a vast, big, and ever-changing field. AI has been around for a very long time, but ChatGPT hasn't, and a lot of the different tools that we use each and every day hasn't been around that long. It's taken the world by storm, but each and every day they're coming up with improvement, changes, and more. So what I say today could actually be different in a month, or most definitely will be different in a year. And how we adapt and how we reflect on this will also be. So I'm going to try to cram as much information as possible into 50 minutes, but do feel free to ask any questions through the chat, and I'll try to make this as interactive as possible. But to get started, we can discuss enhancing intern productivity. So as an introduction, today we will explore the pivotal role of AI in optimizing intern productivity and fortifying data security across diverse sectors. We know that AI and intern productivity is an ability to harness the potential of AI, which can streamline your workflows. It can automate repetitive tasks and facilitate real-time collaboration. Moreover, there's data security in diverse industries. There's a digital landscape, and we need to safeguard sensitive information, which is paramount. AI-driven security solutions can actually help advance threat detection, activate risk mitigation, and help you have robust encryption tools, which means that you have less data leaking out. And in conclusion, it is evident that integrating AI essentials is imperative for optimizing intern productivity and fortifying data security in diverse industries. By embracing AI technologies, organizations can empower interns, enhance operational efficiency, and safeguard critical data assets. The end. Now, I'm not really done, but if I was, this is a presentation that I did not create. I did not format. I did nothing to do it. It was all created by an AI tool. I simply entered the title into a functionality, and it gave me the option to create 6 slides, 10 slides. God forbid I had selected 20 slides, and outspewed this in about 30 seconds. So looking at these slides, you might not have been that happy with me had that been my only and all presentation. Moreover, you might have felt a little lackluster about your learning outcomes and have felt that you didn't learn anything. So if you take one thing and only one thing away from this entire presentation, what I want you to really understand is that AI is not going to replace humans, but humans with AI are going to replace humans without AI. Now, this isn't from me. This is actually from a Harvard Business School professor, Karim Lakhani, who's been studying AI and machine learning in the workplace for years and really wanted to talk about the difference between those who are using AI and those who aren't, and how that will be the differentiating factor for your success in the workplace moving forward. There'll be some other things there, but what they really need to focus on is how we can embrace AI, both in traditional tech roles as well as non-traditional tech roles, to improve efficiencies, improve outcomes, while still being you yourself at your core and building creativity and more into that. So with that, I do just want to give you the very high level of what AI is. I'm not going to go more into it, but there are a lot of resources that you can always look up. 2-minute explanation of ChatGPT, what is AI, what is machine learning. There's tons that you can look at. But today, just for a basis, I can confirm that artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence in machines programmed to think and learn like humans. Their key capabilities of AI is the ability to analyze and interpret data. It learns from experience. The more information you give it, the more questions you give it, the more engagement you give it, it continues to learn, react, and interpret. In fact, they don't actually know exactly how it learns, but it continues to do so, and machine learning is the study of that. And it has the ability to solve complex problems and make decisions. It's applied all across the globe in various fields like healthcare, finance, transportation, and customer service. And it powers technologies that you yourself use every day, have used long before ChatGPT, and that includes virtual assistants, chatbots, recommendation systems, and many more. So just to set the basis, I did want to ask a couple questions. Mirta, you can still see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So if you'd like to scan the QR code on the left, or you can enter in the livepolls.app/VTY9Z8. If you could, just let me know what word or words come to mind when I say AI. Just what is the first word that pops into your head? You can give me multiple words, but what do you think of when I say the word A, or the acronym AI? And I'll have maybe 5 questions in total that I'll ask just to get your understanding. Perfect. Machine learning is one. Anyone else want to give me a word? Computer, amazing. We have generative AI, machines like humans, artificial intelligence. Robots, do you remember you can go to the screen so we can all see your answers come into the cloud? LLM, which is large language models, very much what AI uses to really analyze data and really join. Helper and more. I'm surprised that no one has said what is usually renowned, but ChatGPT lately is one of the key words that comes up with first when you mention AI. So in my second question, I'd like to ask, have you used ChatGPT for education or professionally recently? Is this a yes, a no, or a haven't, but because I'm not allowed? Have you used ChatGPT for education or professionally recently? We have 3 yeses on the screen and 1 more yes in the chat, and we have a no. So we're about 80% as a yes and 20% as a no, with just 4 engaging, although that is getting pretty quickly noted that you have more people. So we are at usually around an 85% saying yes, with some big no's as well. Do you remember if you can capture it on the live poll? That's really useful. And what I can then say is that we actually recently were able to do a survey of workers who had used ChatGPT. Now, this was American companies, but it was about 2,000 American workers. And in fact, only 57% said they had tried ChatGPT. And this was split differently between male and females, with more males, 65%, noting they've tried it, and compared to 47% of females, which is much lower than the whole class that just said about 80 to 90% had at least tried ChatGPT. Now, even less, only 16% say that they use ChatGPT daily or regularly at work. And only 17% of workers said their employers had communicated clear AI policies, split evenly between those encouraging it, hey, go use ChatGPT, use AI, become as efficient as possible, and those prohibiting it, saying you can absolutely not use ChatGPT due to the data and intellectual property ramifications that we might need to over control. And just like Damien, 20% of workers worry that ChatGPT is taking jobs from honest workers, although on the flip side, many feel that it is helping them work smarter, not harder. So to go back to another question on the live poll, I'd have to ask, considering that only 17% of employees are currently using ChatGPT on a regular basis, does this usage rate align with what you would have expected for the adoption of AI? Were you thinking, yep, absolutely, 1 in 5 employees using ChatGPT, that's what I expected? Or do you think a lot more should be daily using ChatGPT, or a lot less? Given that 85% of you have all tried ChatGPT, what did the usage surprise you in looking at how employees are using it? So far, we have 2 that expected more. Sorry, it's a different live poll. Did not know that. 4, everybody's expected more. And trust me, I expected more as well. So we're all on the same page, right? And so would anyone like to unmute or just chat and tell me, what do you think is holding people back from using or embracing ChatGPT? Damien, you want to go for it?
Yeah, for me, I think that sometimes people are holding back because maybe they are afraid they may no longer be able to do things themselves once they become over reliant on ChatGPT. Maybe some simple stuff that they are supposed to. For example, maybe I'm supposed to be creative enough to create a poem or to write an eye-catching letter. But now I just tell AI to generate it for me, so maybe it's not, I'm trying to, maybe they're afraid that their own natural creativity is going to die. So that's why they are not fully embracing it, in as much as they recognize that it's good, but they are afraid that at the end of the day, maybe what comes natural with them, maybe that side of them might die off. That's just what I think.
Absolutely. Everything you do is practice, and it gets better and easier the more you do it, whether that's a sport, whether that's a daily routine or work. And so there could be this fear that if you become so reliant on ChatGPT, your skills could diminish. Or moreover, you could become so reliant on ChatGPT, you're no longer necessary, right? That big, eerie feeling that, is my job safe? There are several times throughout the day I use ChatGPT and I think, God, if it's doing this, what will my boss need me for? And then there's other times throughout the day where I go and create a presentation on AI and I realize, oh, ChatGPT definitely cannot take my job just yet. But that balance and finding that symmetry can be very difficult. Did anyone else have a guess on why do you think more workers are not using ChatGPT?
Someone in the chat says, I think the awareness is still low. And aside from that, for me, I can easily detect email written with the help of AI.
Perfect. Now, I promise you, you actually can't. If I write something, it's actually impossible. There's no tools or anything to tell between AI written and not. While you can tell if you were part of just an email spam, if you're writing papers and more, it's a huge challenge actually in academia, as well as in work and more, that if you are asking for opinion pieces or more, you actually can't differentiate between the two, especially in shorter versions. There is nothing that really can show you if AI created it or not, which can be very challenging. And it goes back to that job safety and security. Now, absolutely, ChatGPT, while it's on the news all the time, AI is on the news and more, many might not have used it just because it is new. There is a technology adoption rate, and it always changes. Now, this has had one of the highest adoption rates I've ever seen, more than Facebook, Google, and all of them combined. But there are still just some slow adopters, and those, once again, it really does bring me back to that thing. But remember, AI is not going to replace your job, but humans who use AI will, because they will become more efficient, and using it can be very useful. But ultimately, there are careers that are at risk with the widespread use of AI. So would anyone like to tell me any career that they think is at risk because of AI? Any job title or career that you wouldn't really want to go into right now because AI might take it from you? Software engineers, Damien says. Yeah, it's not great that they worked so hard to create this tool, of which this tool is an extremely good coder, and can very much do a lot of the coding. Graphic designers, absolutely. There are some very cool applications out there right now that you can type it in and get a really great picture for clarity. I still can't get a great photo, but many can. Admin or low-level tasks, UI, UX, data administration, absolutely, especially data entry, transcribing, anybody who's putting data someplace, translating, it all comes from AI. Project management and business development, I could argue actually would not be replaced by AI. It's still not that fully there, but data analysis definitely could. Content creators and more. These are all careers that absolutely could be taken from AI. In fact, according to the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Survey in 2023, these are the jobs that have had the largest decline in the last 5 years. In data entry clerks, whom one of you mentioned, has lost a total of 7.5 million jobs globally. Administrative and executive secretaries have lost about 5 million. You have telemarketers and client relations losing about 1 million. You have those great accountants, bookkeepers, and more who are also losing. And while not all of these jobs are because of technology, look at security guards and building caretakers. You could argue it's because of COVID and the rise of remote work. Or you could look at postal service clerks and really kind of figure that this was not because of AI, but actually the invention of email, which happened decades before, and more. But it is very much impacting jobs. And while the World Economic Forum is very confident that the jobs that it will reduce will be replaced in equal or more, there is this shift of skills necessary of future careers that you'd like to pick and what's going to really make you stand out. Now, when looking at the jobs that are at risk, there is a key difference between the two. One, you have algorithmic. An algorithmic task is when you follow a set of instructions down a defined path that leads to a single conclusion. These are quite easy to handle because everybody can follow the same path. And so really it means that they're at the highest risk, because if a path is created, AI can follow that path as well. So that includes accountant and auditors, bank tellers, legal industry, especially paralegals and more could be at risk. Contracts are very easy to draw up when you're using AI. Market research analysts, and as I noted, ironically, tech jobs are at risk because AI is such a good coder. So anybody who does code review, quality assurance, and more, AI can take some of that weight off their shoulders. Now, on the flip side, though, there are heuristic tasks. These ones have no instructions or defined path, and one must be creative and experiment with possibilities to complete the task. These include therapists or social workers, nurses, strategists. You can use AI to analyze the data, but you still might need a strategist to actually creatively think about the strategy and what to implement. Organizational development specialists, these are very in demand, especially with the rise of hybrid work and people trying to figure out what their companies will look like, and project managers. Now, there are always exceptions to these, right? If you look at this, you could think a carpenter. While you could potentially follow one set of directions for a mass production of a table, unless a standard build, any service position, construction manager, anything that is human related in person, while it could have potential algorithmic properties, it's not at this time being replaced by AI. Moreover, on the flip side, graphic designers, they didn't really see this coming, right? This is an extremely creative field. And while they're not following an algorithmic path and they tend to demonstrate creativity in their projects, specific AI tools have really gleaned a great ability to create high quality imagery, which means that they could be reduced in the future as the man kind of leans to using AI created images over graphic design. Now, when we're looking at algorithmic and heuristic, what I could say is all of this leads to one skill for you, which is creativity and innovation. In fact, the World Economic Forum noted the one skill that will future-proof you for the job market is creativity. They pegged it as the most valuable skill people will need to have to stay relevant in the workforce. IBM executives almost 15 years ago ranked creativity over management skills, integrity, and vision as the most important skill an employee could have. And LinkedIn recently analyzed all their data for the most in-demand skills, and the one that was in highest demand was creativity. Now, this would go into a whole different webinar, a whole different discussion if I talked about the importance of creativity. It is no doubt really important, and those who can really harness the creativity to the best of their ability will always be able to stand out above the rest and really future-proof their job. But the other skill, and the one that I really want to focus on today, which we all came together, is that AI proficiency and application. Once again, AI is not replacing humans. Humans with AI are replacing humans without AI. And if I looked at AI proficiency and application, I would break it into 6 sub-skills. 1 is data contextualizing. 2 is prompt engineering. 3 is problem solving and algorithmic thinking. 4 is communication and collaboration. 5 is ethical and responsible AI use. And 6 is data literacy. Now, I don't have time to go into all of these 6 skills, so what I've decided to do is highlight 4. We're going to go over data contextualizing, prompt engineering, problem solving, and algorithmic thinking, as well as a really big topic, which is ethical and responsible AI use. So the first thing that you'll really need to figure out in using AI for the best is that you'll need to master the art of data contextualization. Now, if you're wondering what that means, it involves understanding and analyzing data within the framework of its surrounding factors and circumstances. I could argue that outside of AI, this is one of the most important skills that should be taught in K-12, just because we are in such an age of information, and being able to understand where the information came from, the accuracy, the biases it carries, and more, and to be able to contextualize it is an extremely important tool regardless of AI. But with AI and the vast adoption of it in the workplace, it's becoming even more important. Now, consider an easy example to really understand what data contextualization is. Consider that you are a sales analyst, and you look at the data and it shows a sudden spike in winter coats sold in May. And you think, May, Northern Hemisphere, that's about spring, summer. It's very warm. Now, without this context, you might seem very unusual, but if you were able to know or look up the weather and understand that there was a cold snap which hit unexpectedly in May, the data makes sense. So alone, it's a puzzle, but by putting context around it, by looking up other information and really figuring out its surrounding, you're able to see that a spike in irregular weather activity drove the sales. And if you yourself would like to practice data contextualization so that you can get better and more useful in everyday life, what I would suggest is that one, look at study case studies. You can analyze real world examples where data interpretation required context. Harvard Business Review has tons of case studies and they do this very well. Two, you can engage in projects. It's a great time, like an internship, to do this. But hands-on projects like analyzing sales data can teach you to consider external factors. And always look at educational courses. This might not be your specialty, but it's a very useful skill. So if you'd like to consider a course in data analysis or business intelligence, I promise it will come out and help you in the long run. Now, the next skill is prompt engineering. Now, this is a big topic, and they say that prompt engineers in the next 10 years will have a very big rise in the workforce and more looking to really hire and utilize prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is the process of designing and refining prompts to effectively interact with AI models, particularly in the natural language processing. So this is like ChatGPT, where you're able to write a sentence, which is natural language. It's able to read it and analyze it and give you an output. If you create a prompt that is more refined, then you will get better data back. So for example, when using a text-based AI model to generate a story, the quality will depend on how your prompt is structured. A prompt like "write a story about a lost puppy in Paris" is more likely to yield a coherent and focused story than if you just said, "Hey, AI, write a story." That's a really simple example, but prompts can get very, very more intricate, and they'll really allow you to get the right data back in a very quick and efficient way. How you can practice with prompt engineering is one, you can experiment with different models, AI models. You can even just play around with ChatGPT, asking it different questions and really seeing how the data interacts. You can study existing prompts. There's different prompt sheets and more, and you can analyze the effective prompts or whatnot. I found one of my most useful prompts ever is when I have a piece of data or text that I like, if I copy that into ChatGPT and just say, "Can you please define the tone and structure of this text?" ChatGPT will then define the tone and structure, and then I can ask, "Can you write XYZ in this tone and structure?" So I've already asked ChatGPT to define the tone and structure. They did all that work for me. And then I just asked them to reiterate that tone and structure with new content. And it works very well when you're trying to match writing styles or the styles of workplace culture and more. Now, I did want to give a little bit of an example of prompt engineering. So this is really simple, but imagine that you have a word problem, problems like you did back in school. So in this example, the word problem is, to prepare for the party, Jack went to a store and bought charcuterie party platters for $15 each. The veggie platter is $5 cheaper than the charcuterie platter, and Jack bought 7 veggie and 6 charcuterie platters. Now, about a year ago, ChatGPT most likely would have just gotten this question all wrong. It was very complex, a lot of different things, and they might not have been able to remove the different wordings to really figure out the solution. But right now, ChatGPT has gotten smarter. And if you ask, "How much did Jack spend?" it will come up with the answer on the left. So we're just waiting for the video to load. So sorry. Oh no, it is not working. I tested this before, I'm so sorry. Well, this is fun. So if you ask how much did Jack spend on the left, what it says is Jack spent $160. One line, that's it. Unfortunately, whether that's right or wrong, you don't know. You can either trust the data or you can check it, but that one line is all you get. On the other side, if you ask, explain how much did Jack spend with steps in detail, ChatGPT will have a better prompt. And what they'll do is they'll break down each and every step it took to say, great, we know that the veggie platter is $5 cheaper than the charcuterie, which makes it $10 each. Jack bought 7 veggie platters. 7 times 10 is $70. We know that Jack bought 6 charcuterie platters at $15 each, 6 times 15. And then it'll add everything together and it'll make sure that you can actually check and verify each line. While the two questions are very similar, how much did Jack spend, or explain how much did Jack spend with steps in detail, one prompt will get you clearer answers that you can better verify when the videos work. I'm so sorry. But you can also look at it as a couple other examples. So for example, if you said provide information on machine learning, it could yield a very broad and less nuanced response versus explain the advantages and disadvantages of using machine learning for image classification. This will result in more focused and informative answers because it outlines a clear topic and a structured response format. Essentially, when you're dealing with ChatGPT, you want to use prompt engineering to keep it short and simple. Since LLMs, large language models, are trained with text, they essentially learn as much as one single sentence can express. So what you want to do is try to figure out how can you ask one simple single question and a sentence. For more intricate logic, you'll then want to focus on how you can break that bigger question into smaller sequential steps. This idea is known as chain of thought, and it's extremely beneficial to getting better answers from ChatGPT or any other AI tool. So this approach involves starting with identification, progressing through analysis, and then concluding with a recommendation, ensuring that each step is distinct and clear, and then you can then go to ask ChatGPT very clearly what that is. So in prompt engineering, there's tons that can really help you, and you can get better at knowing exactly how to interact with AI to get the response that you want back. I did just write a couple prompts that could be very useful when doing an internship. So for example, if you needed help getting started on your research project, you could ask ChatGPT, can you provide a summary of recent trends in digital marketing for a presentation? It would then give you a starting point of digital trends, and you would be able to then expand upon your research and go. You could use it for drafting communication, like draft an email to a supplier requesting a detailed quotation for office supplies. Or you could do scheduling help, create a meeting agenda for a team, brainstorming session on project X. Event planning suggestions, list 5 key points to consider when organizing a virtual team building event. Social media strategy, what are 5 effective social media tactics for increasing engagement? Or one that I use it for all the time is to help me analyze data in Excel. If I'm using a function and it's not working, I ask ChatGPT to fix my function for me, and it'll actually tell me exactly how to pull the data. Or I could just ask for data analysis guidance. Could you guide me through the steps to perform a linear regression analysis in Excel with a data set that includes age, income, and purchase amount? Keep in mind, all of these prompts have one thing in common. They're asking for AI to give it information. They're not giving AI a bunch of private, personal, and potentially protected information from the company. You want to figure out what are you sharing with AI and what are you allowed to share with AI when you're delivering these prompts or using it to help you with your work. The final thing that we're going to really focus on or skill is the problem solving and algorithmic thinking. Algorithms is probably something you've heard about in passing. Any good product or any good tech has used an algorithm to really succeed. Algorithmic thinking is the methodological approach to problem solving, where you just break down problems into solvable parts or steps. It's very much like an algorithm in a computer program. While we might see so many little steps all spread out that you don't even notice, most computer programming is all based on decision processing and one logical flow of step-by-step breakdown. So really, an algorithmic thinking involves identifying patterns, using logical reasoning, and formulating step-by-step solutions. So for example, a real-world example would be just planning a road trip. Algorithmic thinking in this context involves breaking down the task into smaller, manageable steps. Define the destination, plan the route, allocate the resources, and prepare for contingencies. You could then break down these steps for work. So if you would like to practice algorithmic thinking, you could study algorithms. There's 4 different main types, and you could understand the existing algorithms and get a sense of their structure or logic. 2, you could practice coding. I am of the belief that each and every person entering the workforce now or in the next 20 years should learn basic coding, whether they go into tech or not. 1, it gets you really into a great mindset of algorithmic thinking. It lets you know what tech people are doing, why they design things a certain way, and it lets you engage with them. If you're sales, you'll have to engage with tech. If you're program management, you'll have to engage with tech. Health and tech. Every last job essentially is a tech job now. So figuring out that base understanding can really allow you to be the translator between high-tech roles and non-technical roles and really stand out. And finally, you could do something really simple to practice algorithmic thinking, which is puzzle solving. You can engage in activities like Sudoku or logic puzzles that require step-by-step problem solving. All of these are really useful in the application of AI, especially if you want to take a look at those 3 technical skills I just discussed: data conceptualization, prompt engineering, or algorithmic thinking. And while I could only give a highlight today, I do suggest that you research all 3 of those great skills and look into any courses or more of readings that you could do to really understand this more in depth. But with the last 15 minutes, what I can spend time on is one of the most complicated, challenging, and thing that will most impact AI, I think, in the next 2 years, which is the ethical and responsible use of AI. If you use AI, including ChatGPT and more, and you haven't asked yourself these 4 questions, you might want to do it on a more regular or daily basis as you adapt. 1, who gave us the data AI uses in the first place? 2, who gets credit for the work of AI? 3, who is confirming the accuracy of the data? And 4, if you put data into AI, where does it go? And if you don't know these questions, you might not want to be using AI because there is potentially an ethical responsibility to this. So first, let's just start where AI gets its data. Some of it's from public data sets like government or open source communities and more. Others, organizational data. So if it's an internal organization using it, it might be their records and databases. 3 is user interactions. Any data generated from user activities online is AI's data. So anytime you've interacted with ChatGPT, they have taken that data. This is really important to think about if you're working for a company and you copy company-specific information, paste it into ChatGPT and ask for something. You have just removed data from the company and put it into the main AI universe. So you might want to be careful about where you're putting data, what data you're putting exactly where, and if you're allowed to or if it's protected. This is why some companies totally prohibit ChatGPT use and other AI use. It's because they want to control and safeguard their data. It also can get information from automated sensors, and ChatGPT's most recent function of 4.0 was the World Wide Web. It now uses Bing AI to search accurate information. When ChatGPT was originally launched, it actually only had information from 2021 and before. So now it's much more updated and has learned a lot from our usage, but has the access to the updated World Wide Web to also continue adding to it. Now, we do want to consider some things. One, there is an impact on data quality. ChatGPT did not make up this information. AI didn't make up this information. What they did is they are large language models. They took the information and learned from it, but they had to get the data somewhere. So you want to make sure that either your source reliability influences data accuracy and completedness, or that you get variability in data collection methods for consistency. Now, this just means you want good data. And unfortunately, a lot of our data on the internet is biased. It's biased by whomever has put it in or whoever created the data in the first place. Consider these two examples. An example of data from a homogeneous source, which means one source, can embed biases into AI models is a facial recognition technology. If the training data primarily consists of face from a specific ethnic group, the AI model will continue learning from those faces, and it may perform poorly in recognizing individuals from other ethnic groups because it didn't get that exposure or practice to a diverse range of facial features. It could lead to inaccuracies, and it could lead to biases in recognition of capabilities. The Apple iPhone had this happen significantly when they launched their facial recognition in the first instance. Another example is concerns of user-generated content on social media platforms. The data created by users, post likes, comments, and shares is often used to train AI algorithms for various purposes, such as personalized content recommendations or advertising. Everybody always thinks your phone's listening to you. Oftentimes your phone didn't need to listen to you. It already had the data to really give you that personalized content. But if the majority of active users on a platform belong to the same demographic group, the data will predominantly reflect that group, and it could lead to be less effective or just less relevant for other demographics. You are building biases of data, and there's nobody to fact check it. It's the wide world web. And just because it's on the new technology of AI, you want to be aware of this reliability. You want to be aware of the biases and limitations and the ethical considerations. Once again, every time you take data outside of your company or outside of your school or your personal being and put it into ChatGPT, you are giving it to the World Wide Web. So you want to consider, what does that mean, and did you breach any data? Moreover, AI has this fun little thing called hallucinations. So they can have a hallucination or a fabrication in uncertain or unknown context. Basically, remember that AI analyzes human language patterns from the internet, but it really can't discern truth from falsehood. So hallucinations, they can appear plausible. They seem really reasonable, but unfortunately, AI might create a seemingly accurate account of a meeting between two historical figures that never occurred. It just looked at all the history, and by piecing together common historical facts and characteristics, it might assume that these two characters met even though they didn't. Or an example that the New York Times article gave was, you could ask for 5 red wines to try, and AI could respond confidently, Whispering Willow, Zinfandel, Napa Valley. To AI, it seems so plausible, it's reality. There has only been so many creative vineyard names, but the fact is, it was just a combination and common names and characteristics of wine. It's not real, but AI thought it was. So AI's limitation in distinguishing reality from plausible fabrications means that you have the challenge of making sure that what AI produced is actually real. They're not hallucinating because of these plausible fabrications. It's not lying to you. It just cannot discern truth from falsehood. Now, if we look here and we say a remote global internship can address this skill development by providing students with opportunities to engage with AI technologies in real-world contexts, collaborate with diverse teams remotely, and navigate ethical considerations associated with AI use. University learners currently see AI as their trusty tool and are seen as digital natives. by applying the tool in a global internship experience remotely, it allows them to apply their AI-related skills and gain practical experience while preparing them for the evolving job market influenced by AI. Now, if we read all of this, could you tell me, did ChatGPT or I write this? If anybody wants to guess in the chat, I'm open to it, but did ChatGPT or I write this? Ooh, we got one guess. ChatGPT. Teo, you have such little faith in me. I could have written this. I'm just kidding. I will be honest. I wrote the top paragraph and AI wrote the second paragraph. And unfortunately, without an original writing sample from me, there is no way to discern whether AI wrote this or I wrote this. You could not copy and paste and ask. You could not do anything. There might be some ways in education where, once again, they ask for an original writing sample at the beginning, and then they'll compare and contrast to see if there's any differentiation in tone, but you really can't tell. And it leads to a second question of this. By 2025, automation and a new division of labor between humans and machines are expected to disrupt 85 million jobs globally across various industries and economies. This change will be particularly notable in fields like data entry, accounting, and administrative support, which are increasingly subject to automation and digitalization. If we read this, I'd have to ask, what's missing from this text? Can anyone tell me what should be on this screen that is not on this screen? Feel free to put any guess in the chat. The title, yeah, Richard, there's no title. You are correct. That is missing, but in this case, it's not what I'm looking for. Because I'm running out of time, I will let you know. It's, there we go, Jasmine, perfect. Sources and quantitative evidence. I stole this information from the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report. Great report, everyone should read it, but it's not sorted, cited. I just took this information from ChatGPT and they poured this information in. They wrote this paragraph. I did not write it, but it didn't tell me where I got it. Not only did it tell me if it was from AI or not, ChatGPT or not, it cited a fact without telling me where we got that fact from. So there's a lot of generative AI and legal implications. Basically, the question now that all these governments and companies need to answer is, who is the creator when a piece of content is generated by AI using existing data? The programmer, the AI itself, or the original data source? Remember, AI is machine learning. You need to feed it data for it to learn and then generate new data. So if you are teaching AI to draw a picture, you have to give it original pictures first. And so then you'd have to ask, is it the person who drew the original picture who gets the credit? The person who created the AI who could actually understand the original picture and now create new pictures? Or does no one get the credit? So there's extreme legal uncertainty. The application of copyright laws to AI-generated content is ambiguous. Recent developments, you have courts assessing how intellectual property laws apply to AI. In the US, we just had two significant strikes, the writer's strike and the actor's strike. Both striked because they did not want the use of AI using their image, their writing style, and more without getting dues. Moreover, you have a great lawsuit, Anderson versus Stability AI, who said Anderson is an artist, says, hey, I created all this artwork. Stability AI used that artwork to train their system and now are replicating, and no one gave me any copyright. And this law case right now being seen by the US court. On the flip side, though, Japan said, hey, you know what? When you train AI, copyright does not apply. You give it anything and everything, and whatever it spews out, that is owned by only AI. you do not get credit, which means me as a writer, if AI is using my information, I might feel quite indifferent about this right now. So there is risk mitigation. Some companies using generative AI are doing a lot to ensure legal compliance, especially regarding the use of licensed training data and provenance of generated content. They're looking, where did it come from? How was it used, and where does it go, to really do that blockchain effect. And there's going to be evolving landscapes that necessitate new legal frameworks. So with these ethical questions, you might be wondering, should I be using AI in my internship? I started this presentation with saying that you will need to use AI to really stand out from other staff who aren't using AI. But you do still need to really consider, one, is there workplace integrity policies? You need to ask your company, am I allowed to use AI in the first instance? Don't feel bad about asking, and make sure. They might say yes, they might say no, or they might say something in between that, yes, you can use it, but you can't share explicit data. Yes, you can use it, but you can't take anything outside of the system. Yes, you can use it, but if you use it, you have to disclose that you use it. You need to think of the nature of the assignment. Is it assigned to assess your individual skills and knowledge? Then using AI is quite unethical, you could imagine. Is it collaborative work? Then you need to make sure that everybody knows it's collaborative and that you've all agreed to use AI. Is it learning and development? If you always rely on AI, you'll never learn anything, so you probably don't want to do that. Transparency and honesty. Ethically, it's important to be transparent about the methods and tools you used. If you're doing all this work, is it really you or is it AI? And have you told people that you're doing this? And that final intellectual property consideration. Are you just copying and pasting from a website? It's rewriting and reparaphrasing everything, and you think it's all good and dandy, or are you infringing on other copyrights or legal boundaries? And how can you be aware of that? So yes, you should consider how to use ChatGPT and AI in the workplace. Yes, you should get better at data contextualization, prompt engineering, and algorithmic thinking. But you should also very much be aware of the ethical and information guidance of AI and how it's daily changing. And you should engage in conversations with your supervisors and more about when you should use AI and when you shouldn't in the workplace. Now, just a quick end, because I know I'm out of time. There are a couple things that futurists say will impact AI in the future. One, we just talked about. Copyright infringement could become a very hot topic. It already is. Like I said, in the US and the actors, everybody went on strike for about 100 plus days. That's not, it hasn't been seen since 1984. So it's already a big conversation and will continue to be a bigger conversation as different countries like Japan make those rules about what that means. Second, there's going to be a shifting job landscape and potentially a blue collar resurgence. Remember, AI is on a computer. It's not these amazing robots. We haven't seen that happen just yet. So while entry-level white-collar jobs, those software engineers, may face displacement due to AI automation, there could be a rise in sustainable blue-collar work. Jobs in sectors like sanitation, service industry, construction, and trades may continue to require human involvement and manual labor, creating new opportunities at least in the short run of the next decade. Moreover, you could have a rise in protected jobs. The writers and actors strike just protected the jobs of writers and of actors in the United States as an example. You could propose that to maintain high employment rates and preserve certain industries, governments may also implement increased job protections. Think about all those lawyers all around the globe who have now seen ChatGPT write a contract just as good as them. They might, with their great law degrees, ask for regulations that could be introduced that would mandate human oversight or validation of any legal reviews and creations generated by AI. It would basically be guaranteeing them a job, even as AI tries to displace it. So there will be a rise of protected and unprotected jobs as AI continues to kind of shake up different employments. And finally, as creativity will just be a very useful skill, also human-centric professions. I know Damien noted that he's a little nervous about AI taking your jobs. Do remember, all forecasts say that all the jobs taken will also be created in different industries. And moreover, AI can't do everything just yet. not even 10 years, probably. So human-centric professions will continue to be present. Jobs that involve emotional intelligence, creativity, empathy, and interpersonal interactions may become highly valued. This includes counseling, therapy, coaching, teaching, artistic endeavors, and more. So that is all I have. I know it was a lot of content. Like I said, there's a lot going on with AI, but I hope it gave you a high-level concept and some different things to research as you consider AI in your internship and in your future jobs. I know we're at time, but I do have an opportunity to answer any and all questions if you'd like to raise your hand or put them into the Q&A, which I've seen a couple questions go
Yes,
in.
exactly. There's a question from Andre who asks, do you guys use GPT Plus or just a normal 3.51? Which one do you recommend that we use in our remote internship?
So at this time, ChatGPT 3.5 is great and it does a lot what you need to. In each and every day, it's getting better. Now, I use 4.0, but I also signed up as a paid user because I implement ChatGPT in my Excel sheets in a lot. I'm one of the 17% who uses ChatGPT to try to make my life easier each and every day. And so I do use 4.0, but honestly, everything's changing each and every day. So you shouldn't get holed up too much on whether I should do this or that. You just need to figure out, am I using the right tools for efficiency? Am I following the right guidelines for data? And am I getting better at this each and every day? Is this complementing and enhancing my work, or is it just distracting my work? And then you'll be able to find a solution. And Andre, you also asked, is the future oriented towards making all jobs, especially white collar jobs, AI enabled? I would say that when it comes to jobs and labor and more, it's all about efficiency. Now, we're always looking at productivity, we're always looking at revenue, we're always looking at what it means to do that. Now, I remember about 15 years ago when we started talking about tech jobs and jobs that required tech. Well, the reality is that every single job today really is a tech-enabled job. Whether you're a cashier using the point of sale system, that's a product, that's a platform, that's a technology that you used to take an order, take a payment, and it's multiple integrated products all into one. If you're a construction manager, you are using different tools to draw your plans, to do your time management and more. So is the future orientated towards making all jobs tech-enabled? Yes. Is all jobs goals to be more efficient? Absolutely. And is AI making jobs more efficient? Yes. And so is it a goal? No. Is it a natural move? Yes. AI will become more and more prevalent as it continues to evolve and as it continues to make revenues bigger, efficiency bigger, and productivity bigger. That won't stop in any kind of industry. Any other questions?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Gillian. This has been super interesting. And I want to tell our audience that you're going to receive the webinar, the recording, and also the slides, because you've been asking some of you to find out, to understand if we were going to send the slides and presentation. Yes, you will get it. And also, Gillian, how can we do if we want to stay in touch with you? Maybe it's a good idea to connect on LinkedIn, right? We know that staying in touch on LinkedIn is super, super important. And if you're doing your internship already, probably you have a LinkedIn profile. If you do not have one, then you should create yourself a LinkedIn profile. And there you can ask Gillian. Remember, it's good practice to always send a small connection message. Hi, Gillian, I attended your webinar. It was super interesting. Happy to connect. So that's a good practice. And you can always also connect with me. I'm happy to stay in touch with you guys. And please complete the survey we've shared on the chat so you can give your thoughts on our webinar. and we know what you're interested in. Well, thank you very much, Gillian. I have many things that I'm going to reflect on after this webinar, and this has been super, super interesting.
Amazing. Well, thank you all. Really appreciate the amazing engagement, and great luck with all things AI related as well as internship related. I hope to hear from you on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you are in the world.
Thank you.
Bye.